guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about James Charles again, unfortunately, but I did put a poll on Twitter to see if you guys wanted me to talk about this, and apparently you do. So we're back to talking about James Charles, which on this channel we have named him Sister Cellmate for, I think, obvious reasons. Now, the last time I talked about James Charles was when he posted a video taking accountability and apologizing for and admitting to speaking to some underage boys. He took a break since then and he posted a video coming back. One thing I do want to point out is that the video where he apologizes / takes accountability, whatever you want to call it, all in quotations, accountability and apologizes, that's gone now. In the video, he does say that he did not like how he expressed himself in that apology, which is probably why it's down, but at the same time, it does not look good to take down an apology video and then come back. One would think that maybe you'd make another video you're happier with in terms of taking accountability or whatever it is you want to do. Makes it look like you're just trying to remove it from the internet. It doesn't make it seem very believable that you weren't happy with it, especially if you edited it and then posted it. You'd think you'd know prior to uploading that you weren't happy. So it might be that he wasn't happy with the reception and that's why it was taken down. But that's worth noting because it was a massive scandal and still is a massive scandal because it does involve minors, as said. So the video he posted is titled An Open Conversation, and it is half an hour. So I'm gonna put it on a faster speed just so we can get through this and not be here for like an hour between him speaking and my commentary.
Hi sisters, James Charles here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. First of all, wow, it feels so weird to say those words out loud. Oh my gosh, it has been a really, really long time since I've been down here in the makeup studio, but it feels really good to be sitting here today. I have missed you guys more than you could ever imagine. I hope you're enjoying your summer. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a very happy and beautiful Pride Month. It kind of feels like the world is finally getting back to normal with all the vaccines and stuff. I got both my shots over the past couple of weeks, which has been amazing. And I really feel like there's a lot of beautiful things happening in the world right now, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with you guys today. As you know, over the past couple of months, I have been offline. After I posted my last video, which was holding myself accountable, I felt as though it was really, really important for me to actually hold myself accountable and take a major, major step away and do a lot of work behind the scenes until I was ready to come back. And the last 3.5 months now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, have been really weird. I've been doing social media for almost 6 years now, which is wild to think about, but I've really never taken a long break to just be away and work on myself. So this time was definitely different for me, but I also feel as though this has been some of the most important months in my entire life in terms of personal growth and self-reflection, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you guys a lot about that in today's video. I really want this today to just be a super, super honest, raw, unfiltered, sit-down conversation between myself and anybody else who wants to listen. There's a lot that I want to talk about in today's video. I have a lot of positive topics, but I also think it would be ridiculous and irresponsible to try to just come back to social media and pretend like nothing happened and move on with regularly scheduled makeup programming. So I do also have some pretty serious topics to discuss in today's video as well, being what happened a couple of months ago. I want to clarify some things that didn't happen a couple of months ago and everything that happened after I posted my video, but more importantly, talk a lot about the realizations that I've come to behind the scenes, the conversations that I've been having with myself, my friends, my family, peers, business colleagues, and professionals to really come to terms with a lot of different issues that I have been ignoring for quite a while now. And once again, to talk a lot about the growth and hopefully be able to not move on from the situation because I don't think that that's the appropriate language to use, but hopefully move forward. And I really hope that you guys will choose to join me in this conversation. For today's video, I really want to get ready together for a few different reasons. One being I miss doing makeup so much, and I really want to do a pretty look in today's video. But also two, when I posted my last video, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got was that it felt really, really ingenuine and scripted. And that really, really sucks because that video was not scripted, but I am really bad at just sitting down in front of a camera and talking. So by the time that I, got the sentence out that I was imagining in my head after 8 different tries, it almost did become a script. And I think that we can all agree that that last video was definitely not a great one. It was a miss. And that really sucks because that video was super important. It was obviously really embarrassing to talk about that in front of the entire world, but I really wanted to apologize to the people affected and also hold myself accountable for the role that I did play. And I feel like a lot of the points and a lot of what I was trying to talk about in that video got overshadowed by the tone and the delivery. And I really don't want that to be the case with today's video. I do recognize that a chit-chat, get ready with me might not feel like the most appropriate format for a serious conversation. I hear you 1,000,000%. For me, makeup is like my art form, it's my therapy, it helps me calm down and reduce my anxiety. So my goal is to hopefully be able to create a beautiful look by the end of this video while also having a really serious conversation with you guys that I think is important so my brain won't be too distracted and running a million miles an hour and tripping me up over my words. I hope that makes sense. I don't want to undermine the severity of the topics in any way, shape, or form.
I'm a little bit split on the whole concept of doing a get ready with me when you're kind of going to talk about grooming and minors and things like that, because it feels a little bit like the topic isn't taken as seriously. On the other hand, I also can understand that talking directly to a camera, if you're used to doing things, like your makeup, talking directly to a camera just like I am now, might be more difficult for you if you're not used to it. It feels a little bit weird, and I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong, because if that helps him deliver the message he needs to deliver, by all means, it feels a little bizarre. But you guys can let me know what you think about that.
I think this will be the best way to go about just talking about a lot of different things together. And that being said, I think we should just go ahead and get started. All right, you guys, so I'm just gonna get started on my makeup routine. This is definitely not gonna be a tutorial. Like I said, I do want to have a conversation throughout the video today. And I definitely think the first topic that I want to talk about is just going over, once again, everything that happened a couple of months ago and clarifying a lot of stuff that's happened after I posted my last video and what people have been saying, answering some questions, and talking about the growth and everything that I've been working on for the past couple of months behind the scenes. As you guys know, I posted my Holding Myself Accountable video, and in that video talked about how basically 2 guys had come forward with stories on social media about how I had inappropriate contact with them when they were under the age of 18. Now, when this was all going on, my first reaction was to be super upset, because I did mention in that video that they had lied to me about their age, and that I absolutely did not groom them. And my first reaction was to post a no more lie style video, debunking everything and fighting back and everything. And then I really had to sit down and reflect and look back at myself and my actions and things that had happened. And I really realized that at the end of the day, as the adult and the person with the platform, it was 1000% my responsibility to be doing my due diligence and checking into the people that I was speaking to, and I failed to do that. And that really, really sucks. And that's why I uploaded that video, because I felt as though it was really important for me to hold myself accountable, give people an explanation as to what went down, and most importantly, apologize to the people that were actually affected by my actions. One of the responses that I saw quite a lot on social media and in the comments of that video was a lot of people felt like I felt like this is just another James Charles scandal that I could easily move on from like nothing ever happened. And I really feel as though it's important for me to just address right away that that is absolutely not the case in any way, shape, or form, and that could not be further from the truth. First of all, I feel like calling this a scandal in the first place is just not an appropriate word to be using with this situation. There's no denying that I've been in my fair share of scandals online, but using that word with this situation just feels really, really wrong. And it really feels like it's making light of what actually happened, and I don't want to do that. I definitely have not been taking this lightly. If I thought that this was just some stupid scandal that I can move on from, I would not have uploaded my last video, and I would be posting on social media like nothing ever happened. But this has been the worst but most important wake-up call of my entire life for a lot of different reasons, and this is by far the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to me. I mean, if you guys have been following for a while now, you all know what happened in 2019. I'm definitely not going to get into that, but you know, when that all happened, I was accused of something that I did not do, and I was able to prove it all wrong. But I did recognize that I needed to make changes, and I uploaded a video making a lot of promises to my audience and to the public that I was going to work on myself behind the scenes, and I did. I spent 2 years, you know, changing my behavior, changing the way that I went about dating and flirting with guys. I worked on rebuilding my brand and my social media presence, and now 2 years later that this is happening again, even though the situations are not connected, even though it's a different thing, it really looks as though I have made no progress, I haven't listened, I haven't learned, and that sucks so much. I really feel like I let down myself, I feel like I let down my team, my friends, my followers, everybody who was by my side supporting me and even defending me over the past 2 years from everything that went down beforehand. I now feel as though I have made to look stupid, and that is quite literally the most crushing, embarrassing feeling in the entire world. And I said it in my last video, but I will say it again to everybody close to me, to all my friends, my family, my fans. I am so sorry for disappointing you guys and letting you down once again. You know, as scary as it is to think about, I've also come to terms with the fact that this isn't just something that I can move on from. I am aware that, you know, no matter what I say in this video or 10 videos down the line or a year's worth of videos down the line, these stories and accusations are going to follow me for the rest of my life and the rest of my career, and that sucks so much. It's not even funny, and it's so horrifying and embarrassing, but at the end of the day, it's my own fault and my own responsibility to, you know, take accountability for what I did. I want to be held accountable for what I did do, and all I can hope is that whether it be, you know, weeks, months, years down the line, I'm able to showcase my growth in the person that I really, really am.
This is semantics, but when I refer to this as a scandal, I'm referring to it as the actual definition of scandal, which is an action or event regarded as morally or legally wrong and causing general public outrage. One thing that I find very distracting in all of this, which is maybe why I got distracted in the first place, is how many times he uses the term "this sucks," "that sucks," which, if you're talking about making light of things, I think just saying that it sucks, you know, like you can say it sucks when, you know, you stub your toe or your friend is sad because of something and it sucks. But when it's a situation like this where legal repercussions could very realistically happen, "this sucks" does feel a little bit not like the right term, let's just say it that way, but that's a minor critique. The other thing is, aside from letting down his family, friends, team, whoever else he mentioned, I think the first people that you should be talking about letting down or apologizing to or taking accountability with are the 2 people, though there are allegedly more, that you talked to even though they were underage. Granted, they lied. That being said, should an influencer with millions and millions and millions of subscribers be just talking to people on Instagram in a certain type of like relationship, dating, sexting, flirting, whatever way? No. And the thing is, like I said in my prior video, this has happened to James Charles before. People have lied to him before, which is why it's like, that was a hard lesson to learn, that people are going to lie, they're going to take advantage of you. There were even some people pretending to be into men who actually were straight or not into men, and were trying to basically bait him and then say, oh, he came on to me, he was being inappropriate. So like after all of these things happening, it's crazy to me that after all the reflection of what happened in 2019, we're back at square one. And I know he said he's changed and everything, which hopefully is true. But again, if you have that level of fame and notoriety, frankly, it is like the equivalent of being a mainstream celebrity. There's a reason mainstream celebrities, for the most part, except for the lucky people who actually meet a fan who actually, you know, wants to be with them in a genuine and pure way, most celebrities don't talk to their fan base in that type of way because it can blow up in their faces, like lying about age and other things. So the fact that it sucks that he's let down his fan base, his friends, team, whatever, yeah, maybe that's a point to mention, but maybe mention before the people that were quote unquote groomed allegedly, or the people that you were actually talking to in a romantic or whatever manner.
Like I said, obviously I have absolutely no problem holding myself accountable for things that I did do, but I also do think as creators, or not even really creators, as human beings, we should also be able to defend ourselves on things that we didn't do. Now, when I posted my last video, holding myself accountable, I mentioned that I was going to be taking a break from social media for a while and wouldn't be responding to anything. And quite a lot of people took advantage of my time away and really ran wild with all sorts of stories and videos and allegations that made this situation a lot worse. I do want to take some time in this video today to just shed some light and further information on some stories, you know, that either did or did not happen and that I saw being spread on social media while I was gone, because I think it's really important that you guys have the full picture of what actually went down. There was basically one drama channel on Twitter that started a thread and started compiling a list of anybody that said literally anything about me on social media. And after what felt like weeks of somebody new coming forward every single day, it eventually became the 20 victims of James Charles. I'm not going to go through this list one by one because I know that nobody wants to sit here for an hour listening to me talk about this, but I do feel as though I have to say something because I am just not comfortable with this video or really any video moving forward allowing anybody, let alone my followers, to think that there are any victims of James Charles, let alone 20 victims of James Charles, because that is completely, unequivocally not true. Now, when I say that literally anything and everything was being added to this list, I really do mean anything and everything. There were a few different influencers from TikTok that slid into my DMs, or I slid into their DMs and had a 5-minute conversation with them until asking their age or sexuality, and then completely stopped responding. There were guys that I matched with on Tinder last year, and they had their ages set to 18 or 19, so I talked to them and flirted with them for a while, because that's the whole point of an adult dating app, until I realized that they were lying, so I blocked them, and nothing further happened. One of my own friends is on that list, simply because we filmed a TikTok together when he was 18, and the drama channel that was posting this just decided that I groomed him. You know, there's a guy from my high school on that list because he made a video about me, and as annoying as it was, at least in his video, he fully said that it was completely consensual, that we were both grown adults, and that he was only posting it for clout. I can at least appreciate the honesty, but the problem is when it was reported on Twitter, it was a fan comes forward about James Charles forcing him to do blah, 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 which is just so far from what was even said by the person that actually made the video in the first place. But the worst part about all of this is that on top of all of those situations, there were countless videos posted that were completely fake. I'm not talking about somebody unsent a message or somebody took something out of context. I'm talking about conversations that fully never happened, that were edited from beginning to end. Now, to be fair, there were several other drama channels and even news outlets and reporters that were calling out this person for knowingly posting fake stories and information time and time and time again, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. But the problem is, we are such a headline-driven society that people don't see that information being corrected or, you know, being taken down. All they see is that initial headline, which literally said the 20 victims of James Charles, and that's the information that sticks with them. When more and more things were being added to this list, the one response that I saw over and over and over again was that there's a pattern here. You know, James keeps saying that he's the victim, he keeps saying that these people are lying to him or taking advantage of him. All these people can't be working together, and where there's smoke, there's fire, so obviously something is going on. And I 1,000,000% understand exactly why people are saying that, because if I was on the outside, I'd be saying the same exact thing. It looks so suspicious. I kept thinking, like, why does this keep happening to me? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I just find somebody who likes me for me? But I finally realized, and like I talked about in my last video, I was allowing myself to be so easily accessible to literally anybody who wanted to give me attention and have a conversation for 5 minutes, because I was so delusional in thinking that the conversation can't hurt, maybe it'll actually lead to me finding, you know, the one. When in reality, of course, statistically that does make sense. If you talk to more people, it, I guess, increases your chances of being able to find a potential partner, but at the same time, I wasn't realizing that that also increases my chances of finding somebody not great, that doesn't want to talk to me for the right reasons, and that might lie or take advantage of me. And that is nobody's fault other than my own. That being said, though, there is a second pattern that's happening here that I really do feel like a lot of people aren't seeing, and I feel as though it's important for me to point out. And that pattern is that if you make a video about me, your experience dating or talking to me, whatever it may be, whether it's completely real or completely fake, it will go viral on social media. Now, I'm not saying that to boost my own ego and beat my chest and act like I'm so important and so famous. It really is just the reality of the situation. If you look at the people's profiles who have posted this content, all of their videos have 1,000 views, 2,000 views, maybe 10,000, but then all of a sudden, my experience with James Charles, whether it be completely real or completely fake, has 6 million views. And at this point, it's literally become a trend to post screenshots of conversations, not just with me, but with everybody. And at this point, dare I even say, like, a meme to post your experience talking to James Charles. Now,
obviously, I do agree that making up any conversation you have with anyone, even if they're not famous online or whatever, is completely abhorrent and should not be done. And I think that's one of the most fucked up things you can do, is accuse someone of a crime specifically towards minors. I think that's one of the most vile accusations you can make up, along with sexual assault accusations that are made up. So I agree with him on that point. The reason it goes viral is not only because you, James Charles, are extremely well known on social media. It's not just because they're lying about you or they're making up these stories. It's because you're a public figure that is very followed and very well known, especially on YouTube. And on top of that, you've had scandals that relate to this thing. So I'm not saying it's fair or it's right for anyone to make anything up, like I said before, but the reason it goes viral is because people tend to believe it more because of things that happened in the past, namely the video you deleted where you admitted to be talking to minors. And whether you knew it or not becomes irrelevant because it's your responsibility to check and to know and to really not talk to people on social media because it's just too easy for people to lie there. So the going viral with these lies, yes, it's true, they will go viral, but it's also like, why do people easily believe these things?
Once again, I recognize that this is my own fault. I wish more than anything I could go back in time and stop myself from making all those jokes about straight guys years ago and talking about dating and how I was single and how I wanted a boyfriend so badly. Like, I wish more than anything that I kept that private. Unfortunately, at this point, there's nothing that I can do about that other than just be better moving forward. But at the same time, I'm still a human being that deserves privacy and respect like everybody else. You know, it's one thing to have a super innocent and casual 5-minute conversation with somebody on Instagram DMs or a dating app and then to scroll on your For You page an hour later and see every single message that was sent. It already feels really, really violating and dehumanizing, but at the same time, once again, it's my own fault, and that's just what happens with having a platform. But now we've gotten to a point where people are completely faking conversations from beginning to end that contain incriminating content, and they're going really, really viral, and nobody thinks twice about them or knows what to believe, and that's what's so horrifying about this trend, and it has to stop. And when speaking of this, I think it's really important for me to clarify as well that in no way, shape, or form am I trying to invalidate victims or victim blame or victimize myself either. When I posted my last video, I recognized that although I was not guilty of what I was being accused of, I was not innocent in general and did need to make a lot of changes and apologize moving forward. So I'm not trying to invalidate any of those people, but at the same time, you can't be a victim of something that did not happen. And with all these people making completely fake conversations and screenshots and posting videos of a 5-minute conversation just to get attention and clout and likes and go viral on social media to add to this crazy narrative, all it does is discredit and disrespect the people that were actually affected in the first place, and it waters down the severity of the issue and the situation going on, but it also discourages people from being able to come forward in the future because when it's so easy to Photoshop and edit these conversations from beginning to end, nobody's going to know what to believe, and that is a really, really dangerous situation. The last thing that I kind of want to talk about is that I know when I upload this video, there's going to be a lot of people that say, okay, cool, James, you said this before, so where's your receipts and your screenshots to back it up? And that's totally valid, but I'm going to let you guys know right now that I'm not going to be including any in today's video. And I could sit here and say that that is because I'm trying to be the bigger person and grow and not get involved in tea or drama anymore, and that would be true, but the real reason why I'm not including screenshots in today's video is because I don't have them. I know that I kind of became like known for that after No More Lies, but that was such a different situation where I had months and months worth of texts and DMs that I could super easily pull together a timeline and prove my innocence, whereas in these situations, for the ones that were real at least, these interactions lasted for 5 minutes, an hour, a few days at maximum, and I just wasn't sitting there taking photos of everything that was being said. You know, I do have some receipts that I definitely think would help, but I'm also going to be honest and say that there's several situations that I don't have any sort of receipts for, especially not the conversations that were completely fake, and I really don't want to leave anything on the table. You know, no matter what sort of receipts or screenshots or proof that I include or share online, there's always going to be a group of people that refuse to believe it because the narrative and the drama and the tea is simply more fun and more entertaining, and that really, really sucks. But, you know, I know the person that I am, I know what I've done, I know what I have not done, and I know what I need to work on, and all I can hope is that there will always be people out there who are willing to let other human beings learn and grow from their mistakes, and I just really look forward to hopefully showing that in the future. You know, speaking of learning and growing, the last thing that I just want to briefly discuss before we move on to a more lighthearted subject is I would love to just take a few minutes of your guys' time and talk a little bit about the progress that I made and the conclusions that I have come to over the past couple of months, because I promised that I would do that in my last video, and I feel like I owe it to you guys. Whenever anybody apologizes, personally, I always think it's really important to not only apologize, but also to be able to explain that you understand how what you did was wrong and why it affected somebody and how you're not going to do it again in the future. So when I uploaded my last video, I talked a lot about how I was desperate and coming to terms with that. And looking back now, that was not the right word to use. It became quite a meme and a trend online, and I totally understand why. That was not supposed to be an excuse for anything that happened at all. I was simply trying to explain to you guys that I finally understood why I kept getting into this position over and over and over again, and how it was my own fault and nobody else's. I really was convinced that I was able to live this like Hannah Montana double life fantasy where I could be James Charles, the internet persona beauty guru during the day, but then later on I could wipe my makeup off, get in normal clothes, and talk to people on Instagram DMs or on a dating app, or even hang out with somebody and have them see me as James Dickinson. And looking back now, I am so angry with myself that I was ever this delusional to think that it was possible. It's a lovely thought and a lovely idea, but the reality is they're the same person. And until I gave somebody the opportunity and the time to get to know me and my heart and my soul, they were always going to see me as James Charles, because that's what I put out there on my platform to millions and millions of people, and I just wasn't understanding this, but now I finally do.
So I do think that this is a good realization to come to. Like, I genuinely do think that is a positive realization, though it is a little late, because if you talk about being on social media for 6 years and having a level of fame or notoriety, whatever you want to call it, one of the first things I think people generally know when they're in the public eye, whether you learn this by making mistakes or whether it's just from paranoia, I mean, I'm nowhere near at the level that James Charles is of like fame or notoriety, whatever. One of the first things, and this I've said this to my friends before as well, is whenever I speak to someone online that I do not know, no matter what type of conversation it is, if they're asking my opinion, if we're just sending memes, whatever it is, I assume that conversation will be leaked. I assume that. So everything I say and share is something I share knowing very well it could go out to the public. Hence why I never share private things that I just don't want the public to know. So being on the internet for 6 years and kind of talking to people, kind of paving the way to maybe a romantic relationship or whatever James Charles is looking for, to me it is strange that it's taken this long for him to understand, especially with all the scandals, this long to understand that you can't just tell some rando online, you know, about shit that happened to you, traumas. Like, you can't tell them all this stuff. Unfortunately, it's sad, but unfortunately, probably a big chunk of people who reach out to James Charles and try to talk to him in that way are looking for something they can use against him, for blackmail, or gonna lie about, whatever it is. They're probably not there with pure motives if they're reaching out in some kind of romantic or sexual way, being realistic. But regardless, the positive change is there, hopefully.
In my last video, I mentioned that moving forward, I was going to be asking every single person that I spoke to for IDs, to make sure that this never ever happened again. And that's already something that I've been doing and has been working out great. But it's now clear to me more than ever that I need to be doing so much more to protect myself and my brand and my privacy and safety, most importantly, as well. And these are all things that I've learned from making mistakes. Everything that I've learned about dating in terms of protecting myself and red flags to look out for has been through experiencing something and not wanting that to happen again. I got called out for flirting with straight guys, so I stopped allowing myself to be a science experiment. I've been on dates before where guys have tried to take pictures of me on the DL, so it's now gotten to a point where a lot of times when somebody comes over, I'll ask them to leave their phone at the front door. I've even been in situations where I had a guy over and I asked him to leave because he made me uncomfortable and he hit me, which was horrifying. But I learned from that and I now never have anybody over without my roommates being home. God forbid anything happens. Now, I'm not bringing any of that up to ask for sympathy or act like woe is me. Once again, I recognize that these type of things can happen when you have a platform. It's up to me to protect myself and make sure that I am not allowing myself to be so easily accessible to let those people in the first place. But I'm simply bringing it up to say that it's really complicated, and these are all things that I've learned over time, and I'm still learning and will forever be learning to be the best version of myself or the best potential boyfriend in the future. Speaking of the future, I really don't know what that is going to look like. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be so much more careful moving forward with every single person that I talk to or interact with, but that doesn't mean that I still don't want to find my right person, just like everybody else. I just don't exactly know how to go about that yet, but I'm going to figure it out as I go. You know, one of the really interesting things to me was when this was all happening, a lot of people were saying, like, he shouldn't be DMing people, he needs to be on this app, or he shouldn't be on this app, he needs to do this, he needs to do this. I've been on Tinder and Hinge, but I've had people either lie or take screenshots, and my account is currently banned on both of those apps for catfishing as myself. I had a Raya account, which is like the celebrity dating app, but even conversations from there got leaked a couple of weeks ago, and they declined my request to rejoin. There have been so many people too saying he just needs to give up and date a celebrity. You guys, trust me when I say I would literally love nothing more. Oh my god, if that option were on the table, trust me, it would have been taken a long time ago. The idea of dating somebody that's in LA that has a busy but flexible schedule, that understands my life, that has money so that I don't have to pay for everything, that I can film videos with or walk red carpets with, like, hello, that is literally a dream come true. Oh my god. The problem is the list of 20 to 25-year-old queer men that are also in the public eye with a large following is just really, really small. And I'm friends with almost everybody that is on that list. So it's really just not an option. You know, I don't know who my perfect person is going to be or how I'm going to go about meeting them. I do know that I'm going to be way more careful and way more patient moving forward, but I still want to be able to talk to new people, meet new people, and have experiences just like every human being does, and find love like every human being deserves. And of course, when that happens one day, I would love, love, love to share that with you guys, but until that happens, unfortunately, no matter how careful I am, I'm most likely still going to run into people that will always value likes or making a video over somebody's privacy and feelings, and that sucks. All I can do is just learn from that situation and figure out how to better protect myself and be more careful moving forward, and that I promise is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I know that this has been a really, really long conversation and portion of the video, so if you made it all the way through to this point, I just want to say thank you for listening and hearing everything that I had to say. It really does mean a lot. And like I said, it would be really stupid to try to come back to social media and pretend like nothing ever happened, so as embarrassing as this was, I really felt as though it was important, and I owed it to you guys to just sit down and have a conversation about everything. I hope I was able to answer some questions, clear up some stuff that didn't happen, but most importantly, once again, be able to hold myself accountable for what did, and explain to you guys that I understand why I put myself into this situation, why it's wrong, and how I'm working a lot on myself and making a lot of changes to make sure that this never ever happens again in the future. And I really, really hope to be able to show that to you guys if you choose to stick around for that journey.
Though I am no fan of James Charles and what he's done, of course, I do think that it's important that he's realizing that he needs to take these precautions. I do think it's very sad that anyone would have to take these types of precautions, that people will just make up messages between you and other people. And that's not denying that he did fuck up and that he did do inappropriate things, obviously. But genuinely, if I had any type of advice to give from my perspective as like someone who doesn't have millions of people following me or anything like that, but as someone who's paranoid, maybe I have something worthy to say here, is that if he does start talking to someone, and I know this seems like really extreme, but I do think, you know, like either him or his team should run background checks. And I'm not talking about just background checks in terms of like criminal past or if they're on the sex offender registry. Background checks generally, even just on social media, like he has a team. I think it would be beneficial for him. You know, like obviously you can't comb through everyone's entire life, you know, like you might not know exactly their stance on something when they were 13 years old, or if they made an offensive tweet when they were 13. However, that being said, you know, like just looking through someone's social media, just checking what's going on there could sometimes, I think, be helpful to see patterns of behavior of someone, you know, clout seeking or attention seeking, or someone who has been proven to lie about other celebrities. Now, obviously that is in an ideal world. There are some people who are going to slip through the cracks, obviously, but I do think that considering he has a team, maybe, you know, when he meets people, he should consider running a background check the typical way to just see that they're not criminals of like violent crime or something like that for his own safety. And then also have like, let's say a social media background check where his team can just look up said person and just see what's there in order to protect himself. I think that would be a good way to go. And like I said, realistically, people will slip through the cracks because people can be very manipulative, very good at lying. So that's just an idea. Okay, so the majority of the end portion of the video, I was kind of waiting to see what he was going to say, because he did say that he was going to discuss like what he's been doing behind the scenes in order to change, learn, grow, whatever from this situation. And I'm not really sure that happened. Or if it did happen, the only thing he really did address is that he's created this filtered version of himself for social media, and he wants to be more real, which I don't really know how much that has to do with everything that's occurred, with the scandals that have occurred with the minors and all that. I don't really know how related that is. I think that is a form of growth, but it's also not directly related. So I'm kind of confused as to what exactly he's been doing these 3 months apart from, you know, being away from social media, maybe rediscovering sides of himself, like playing Minecraft. Was there counseling for what's happened? Did you, like, what else is there that is particularly pertinent to why you left, is my question. Maybe I missed it, maybe I misinterpreted it. That's up to you to tell me what you think. Aside from that, I genuinely hope that this is the end of the scandal with minors drama with James Charles. As much as I am not a fan, I don't want any other victims, of course. And the other thing is also, I'm not really sure that as a public figure with that much of a following, you will ever be able to be entirely raw, unfiltered, whatever. Now, of course, he can share pictures that have no filters. Of course, he can share his hobbies, but realistically, you know, to most people out there, you are still going to be a public figure, and that is the majority of your identity. You're the public figure who is doing makeup, and that's what people will know you for. And that's not a slight, that is just the reality. The same way that in other genres of YouTube, they are the public figure who does true crime and makeup. They are the public figure who does things. And that's because when you are a public figure, especially with millions of people following you, much like mainstream media celebrities, we might think, you know, like, I don't know, I don't look at Jennifer Aniston as someone who likes kombucha and knitting. I don't know if either of those things are true, but I like Jennifer Aniston because I grew up watching Friends, for example, you know, so she in my head will always be related to that, but she is a public figure, so you will always be a public figure that's related to something, and whether you curate it or not, it's not really your decision to make, if that makes sense. Like, people will always see you with degrees of separation from a real person, and that is an issue because a lot of public figures aren't treated as humans, blah blah blah. We've all had this conversation. No matter how raw he decides to be, I do think that people will still see you the way they decide to see you. And in a way, it can be seen as a positive because there are things that you get to keep for yourself that people will have no commentary on because you're just not putting it out there, if that makes sense. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.